Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Fall Reviews, where we get...
3 seconds in.
Oh, man, show's off the rails. We're going to review another album for you. That's why you tune in. You know, you want to hear us BS about albums and, give you some ridiculous comedy in the process. And speaking of that, this album gives a lot of people a reason to laugh. Not so much me. I have fun with it, but it's a really, really good album, and I got a story behind it that I'll get to in a minute. I didn't even introduce Brent. Brent's with us again today. How's it going?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm curious to hear your full take on this album, because this is one you introduced me to, and I honestly even doubted its existence for the longest time.
And that, I think a lot of people do, and that's why I said a minute ago that a lot of people get a laughter out of this album.
Oh, yeah.
And that's Power Metal by Pantera. That's right. They do have another album. In fact, they have 4 other albums that most people don't know about that came out on their own record label, which I believe was called Metal Magic, which is the name of the very first album, by the way. Power Metal came out in 1988, and here's my story behind it. I was at a used CD store. Yes, a store that sold nothing but CDs. This was like 1998, probably 1997, something like that. And I see this CD sitting there, and it's got some guys on the cover with like denim leather jackets and poodle hair. And I'm like, well, is this another Poison release? Nope, it says Pantera on it. And I'm like, what the heck? Because I had just bought Great Southern Trendkill, and I already had Cowboys from Hell. And I'm like, what is this? And not only that, they wanted $50 for it. And I was like, okay, there's something's up with this album. This has got to be rare. Is this one of a kind? What's going on with this thing? So, of course, I was not going to spend $50 on it. Later down the road, probably mid-2000s, 2003, 2004, internet's prevalent, obviously. And I start doing some research. And sure enough, I start finding out that Pantera was officially a hair band before they were this flying the flag of heavy metal in the mid to late 90s. So, Brent, what was your first impression when you found out that Pantera was actually kind of a glam hair band before they turned into this metal machine?
Whenever you honestly told me that, I didn't believe you. I really honestly didn't. I mean, I don't know why.
Nobody does. Nobody ever believes me.
I mean, you're not a liar. I don't know why. I was just like, no, dude, it was something they did. I mean, it was something else. It's not the Pantera, it's not the members. It might be a band called Pantera. I went through a few things, and you're like, no, dude, seriously, just listen to this. Look at it, listen to this. And sure enough, it is the Pantera. And I honestly, I think I probably sat there and just stared at it for a few minutes.
I did too.
And,
yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at it online. I didn't ever run across it in a store or anything until actually here recently. And I think you ended up picking it up maybe or something.
I did. The minute I saw it, I snatched it up. Shout out to Dan Evans and Patrick at Heavy Heads Records. Great pricing on that. I hadn't seen this album for less than $100 on vinyl anywhere before. And I can tell you I got it for a whole lot less than that. So, again, shout out to you guys. Thanks.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I just sit there and stared at it, and it's like, no, this can't be real. Because, my first experience with Pantera was Vulgar Display of Power. And then I ended up going back to, the Cowboys from Hell, and ended up getting into, Great Southern Trendkill. Everything Pantera had, I thought. And then, you're like, no, here, check this out. They were a power metal, glam metal band. It's like, oh, God, no, they weren't. And sure enough, and honestly, once I listened to it, yeah, it's obviously Pantera. This album specifically, there's no other band it could have been. And I think it's absolutely great, but we'll get into that.
So the first thing I want to say is that the album title doesn't fit. This is not power metal. This isn't Swords and Sorcery, Blind Guardian, Halloween, that kind of stuff. This is just a straight up metal album. In fact, I don't even spot any elements of power metal in this. Did you?
I would say that it's power metal if you take the name literally. Like, it's powerful metal.
That's
As
true.
in, it will melt your face.
Pretty much.
But yeah, as far as like, the scene and everything we normally think of with power metal, no, absolutely not.
Next thing I wanted to say about this is the first appearance of Phil Anselmo in Pantera. Before this, I can't remember the guy's name. Once again, that's probably terrible of me being such a fan of the hairband era of Pantera. But the previous singer was really good too. But man, Phil took this to a whole nother level. And when I say a whole nother level, I mean the vocals are high pitched. We're talking like in vein of like Rob Halford, not even near as good, but in that vein. I mean, I couldn't believe this was Phil singing. He had such a great range on this album, and then you're like, oh yeah, well that's probably where all the vocal range he got off Cowboys from Hell, which is even better of a range on that album than this one. But that's where this is where it started. This album really turned Pantera into getting it going in the direction of the metal machine that it ended up being. So, let's start off with the vocals right off the bat. What did you think of Phil's vocals on this album?
I couldn't believe it. Like I said, I was completely blown away when I listened to this, and Phil's voice was just absolutely amazing. I thought he did absolutely fantastic. The range, just everything, the way, I don't know. Like I said, it's actually kind of hard to describe because when you listen to this and you kind of think about the other stuff, you can actually see some shades of this, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it actually was. I was really, really surprised.
Like I said, there's different styles on here, and we'll just jump right into the music. That's one thing that I absolutely loved about here. This is, again, no power metal, but you listen to one song, it sounds like a thrash band. Listen to another song, it sounds like a metal band. You listen to another song, it sounds like a glam hair metal band playing a ballad. There's a couple of ballad type songs on here, and believe it or not, those are two of my favorite songs on here. Yeah, musically, it's just, I don't think any two songs sound the same. It keeps you going because they change up the pace, they change up kind of the sound, like I said. Very catchy riffs. You can definitely tell Dime's distinct guitar tone and sound that he's got in this. And I think this may be one of this album and Cowboys from Hell. This may be like the pinnacle of his technical style of playing. Would you agree?
Yeah, actually I would, because there's some solos on this that just blew me away. Like the song Over and Out. I hated the song. And then all of a sudden the solo comes in, and I mean, it's like, okay, where go your teeth down your throat? Yep. And I mean, it was awesome. And yeah, I mean, it's just, like I said, his playing, very, very good. I mean, you can tell it's him from the very first note. You really can. But yeah, as far as like technical and stuff, it's very, very good. Very, very well done.
And going back to the lyrics for just a second, this is another thing that I had a lot of fun with on this album. We talk about having fun a lot in music, and a lot of people don't like to have fun. And that's one reason why people bash 80s metal and maybe bash this. Because, it's a band having fun. It's kind of a party band. And, if you look at these lyrics, they are like 80s party heavy metal hair band to the T. I mean, it's the titles, the lyrics. I'm not going to go really into it. You can listen to this and find out for yourself. But, it's a total cheese fest, but man, it rocks and it's just fun. What did you think of the lyrics?
Honestly, I didn't really even, being a lyric guy, I guess this is kind of bad, but I didn't even delve into them a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, I got fun out of them and just a really good time. Some of them, there was almost like a little bit of like a political thing going on too there that I kind of enjoyed. But yeah, I don't know, the whole thing to me, I couldn't get over what I was hearing and what I was seeing and knowing what Pantera became. It was almost like a surreal experience.
So for me, on these songs, I loved every single one of these. Now, there might have been one or two that I was just kind of like, it's okay. But, for the most part, this is an album I could put on and just hit play and let it ride through the whole thing. So was there any negatives that you had on this album?
Honestly, whenever I was listening to this, I just kind of put a plus or minus next to a song. The only minus I actually put on one is We'll Meet Again. And don't take that for being a bad song. It just, it was honestly the weakest song for me on the album. I would still put it up against a lot of stuff that's out there. And like you said, put it on track one, just let it go. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, over and out until it hit that solo. Once it hit the solo, it was a whole different thing for me. Whole different ballgame with that entire song. But overall, very solid. And solid's not even the right word. Overall, fantastic. And yeah, like you said, from track one to the very end, I would put it up against really anything that they actually have later on, really, as far as just, good, like quality.
I still think Cowboys from Hell is probably my favorite because it took this album and meshed it with, Vulgar Display Power, basically. I mean, when you look at it, that's the timeline that those came out. But I mean, essentially, that's what it is. It took the heaviness and it took this and meshed it together. But we'll review that album down the road also. Yeah. One thing that I think is interesting is that you are the lyric guy, but you didn't pick up on the lyrics. I'm not the lyric guy, and I picked up on the lyrics. Generally, I think you will like a ballad a little bit more than I would. And on this album, I actually really like We'll Meet Again. But I know what you mean. Like, that is the weakest song on the album, because it is a ballad. The solo in it's really good, but the music is very kind of basic because it's meant to be that ballad, even though, like, when you listen to the lyrics, it's not kind of the sappy, every rose has its thorn kind of ballad. It's more of what you hear later on, which isn't even a ballad, but it's kind of on that vein of, like, Cemetery Gates. Like, it's kind of in that vein. So I just thought that was interesting that, we'll have the different perspectives on this. We kind of flipped roles here. So.
I would say it's kind of a nice switch. So,
all right. Anything else on this album you want to talk about before we get to the rating?
No, it just needs checked out. It has to be heard to be and seen to be believed. It really does.
And this is going to be a hard one to find. So if you can't spend the money to actually buy a physical copy, because I think like last time I checked, like a CD on eBay was like $30 or $40. So. This is on YouTube. You can go check it out if you don't want to spend the money. So, Vault star rating, 1 star being the worst, 5 stars being the best. What are you going to give Power Metal by Pantera?
I'm actually giving it a 4.5 just because I was so blown away, and the whole album was just so over the top and fantastic. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. Just, I don't know. It was just that good.
That's the exact same score I have, 4.5 stars. Great overall album, start to finish. Maybe just a couple of not even weak spots, but just a couple of songs that neither one of us were really high on, but still definitely listenable. And good solos in every single song. Good mix of styles. Got the thrash, got the classic metal, got the hairband style, got the cheesy 80s lyrics. Really fun, just awesome album. Great to listen to anytime. I mean, I could pretty much listen to this album anytime. Yeah. Unlike some of the other albums, if we're going to listen to like Cannibal Corpse or going to listen to maybe Danzig or the Misfits or AFI or something like, you kind of got to be in a mood for some of that stuff. This is something I could put on anytime and just jam out to.
And that's part of why I love this album. It's something that you put on and I don't think you could feel bad and listen to this album. You spoke about how fun it is. It's so powerful and just blazingly awesome. I mean, the guitar work is just unreal. It's fantastic. And the whole time I was listening to it, I mean, it makes you feel good. And that's hard for, honestly, me to find in music anymore because I'm usually the kind of the downer and everything. But it's so fun. And like you said, just full of quality from top to bottom. It's good. It's fun. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, I mean, you're having a bad day. We talked about this on some of our past reviews of like Breaking Benjamin or 3 Days Grace. A lot of them kind of have these lyrics that are almost whiny, like I stated, that maybe get people through things. But to me, if I'm having a bad day, I'll throw this album on. And, I'll just start pumping my fist on Proud to Be Loud. And I'm like, I mean, this thing will just get me going no matter, maybe I'm in a bad mood and this is going to just like kind of amplify it for the time being. And then when the song's over, maybe I'm out of that mood. So that's just how kind of I deal with stuff. But man, what a fun, great album. And what an album to kind of kick off the major part of the career of these guys. Because after this, it was pretty much on from there. You know, Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar Display of Power, Far Beyond Driven, Great Southern Trendkill, Reinventing the Steel, and, you know, sadly Dime passed before we got much more Pantera, but this may be up there with one of my favorite Pantera albums. So anything else?
No, I agree. It's absolutely fun. It's one of the best times just sitting back, jamming. I mean, this is like an air guitar player's just dream. If you're having a bad day, but you like playing air guitar, throw this on and you can't help but enjoy it and have a good time. And to me, that's what music's honestly all about. It can help you do a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't make you feel better, I don't know that I want it around. And this album is definitely a nice, beautiful kick in the face.
100% agree. Music's all about making you feel good, no matter what the style is, no matter if it's an album like this, it's really fun and high intensity, or maybe you want to listen to like some kind of slower Johnny Cash stuff that most people would think would be, you know, kind of depressing, but maybe it makes you feel good. It's all about making you feel good and what sounds good to you, regardless of style, genre, or anything else. With that, we're going to close the show. Once again, you can send us anything you want to send us. Let us know if you like the show, hate the show, what albums you want to hear us review, what you thought of some of these reviews we've done. TheVaultMusic1@gmail.com. Send us something on Twitter and follow us, retweet us, share us at TheVaultMusic1. Facebook.com/TheVaultRVWS. Like, share, comment, all that good stuff on there. We got a really good community going there. YouTube and Podomatic, probably where you're hearing this on one of those two. Please subscribe to the show, follow the show, and all that stuff. And you can check out Patreon.com/TheVault. If you'd like to support the show monetarily, we've got all kinds of cool stuff over there. So with that, until the next review or podcast, see you later.
Peace.